What am I looking at there?
The coasters come in any color, different thicknesses, so not a consistent thickness. And the set comes with 7. They're handmade out of 4x4. Contact with any questions. So
looks like a treated 4x4 at that.
This is, just on some packing material from a raid or something. And oh my gosh, I hope they're not listening. So before we get to the episode today, I want to thank our sponsor, Surf Prep Sanding. Whether you're looking for the highest quality of sanders, dust extractors, or abrasives, Surf Prep has what you need to take your project to the next level. I've been using Surf Prep for a couple of years now and know firsthand the quality of their products. The amazing family who stands behind their brand is by far the best in the industry. Use code MAKERLOUNGE, all one word, for 10% off your order at surfprepsanding.com. Thank you to Surf Prep for sponsoring this show. Seriously, go check out those guys and show that awesome family some love. Make sure that you use that code at surfprepsanding.com so they know that I'm actually doing my job. Welcome to the lounge. I'm Matt with Voltner Woodworking and your host of the Maker Lounge podcast. You've heard them all on the podcast before, but that's not going to stop me from doing a proper introduction. Steve Mosley is back for Making It Home. He's still at home, but that's just his business name. Nick Poole with Dillon Furniture or Custom Carpentry or something like that is here. If you don't get that reference, make sure you check out last week's episode. We also have Andy Bird with us tonight, and what Andy Bird wants, Andy Bird builds. In this episode, we're going to ask the question, are you charging enough for your work? If you're just getting started in your maker journey, you may not know your worth. And also, the games are back. We're going to be playing a game called The Price is Wrong. Stay tuned, grab a drink, and enjoy the episode. Hey, not bad for timing.
It's good.
Not at all.
I like
Well
it.
done.
That's all I get. It's good. It was good.
Better than I could do.
I don't know. Let's try it again. Ready? You're on.
Surf Prep.
You did what matters.
You nailed it. Yeah.
That's right. You just gotta hit the key points.
Right.
Exactly.
Exactly. We're talking about pricing. That's why we invited Mr. Andy Bird to join us. You've got a channel. We want to celebrate your 100,000.
It's crazy.
100,000 on YouTube. So congrats.
Woo! Thank you.
Just took me a minute to find the button.
Hey. Yeah. Delayed.
Yeah.
It's like I got a slow clap.
Right. Exactly.
Like, good job, Andy.
Yeah. 100,000 on YouTube. We were talking a little bit before the pre-show. It's been a journey, 4 years in the making.
Yeah, 4 years. Yep.
Wow. That's
when
incredible.
When I say that, like 4 years seems like it's an achievement, but 4 years kind of in my mind takes away from it. It's like, it took me that long? Like, what was I doing?
But does it seem like it went faster?
Yeah.
Does it seem like it went faster?
It does, yeah.
Man, 4 years, I feel like that's super fast.
Yeah, I looked it up. I'm a person that is a heads down person. Like, I celebrate like achievements and stuff like that, but it's kind of like, like it's that like winning mentality. It's like, okay, it's what next? Like 100,000 subscribers wasn't like the end goal. It's like just a milestone like across the journey. So, but I did stop and enjoy this because I do know like it's a big achievement. So.
Yes.
I looked it up just out of curiosity. There's so this was as of last year. There's 340,000 YouTube channels that have more than 100,000 subscribers in the world.
Wow.
So
that's
like
a lot. It's a lot, but it's not. Like when you think about it, it's out of all.
It's
of
only
YouTube.
like It's 0.28%. So not even 1% of all channels. It's like 0.28% achieve 100,000 subscribers. So
it's quite the club.
It made me stop and think like, wow, like
you're in the top 5%.
Like,
He's in the
it's,
top 0.27 or 28%.
Hey, Matt's in the top 5%. I'm sure. Hey, let's not think.
Maybe. Let's not talk about it. Let's not talk about it.
Hey, no. If you're gonna shine light on me, everybody, Matt just crossed 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is a huge milestone, by the way.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
congrats.
That's pretty awesome.
Congrats to you.
Delayed applause for me as well.
Yeah. No, that's a huge number. It is a huge number. So
Yeah. No, it is exciting. Just thinking about the journey, and it is a grind. It's not easy,
geez.
right?
It's such a grind. Like when you look back on something, you're like, oh, yeah.
It's like when my son says he wants to be a streamer and a YouTuber, I'm like, that might be a little bit easier because you're just like playing video games all day long. Like you're not like whatever comes to you and you play the game, but you still have to like come up with an idea, and you can't just play the same game every day. Like you have to plan out your content, even though you're just playing. Not just.
Yeah, and how do you stand out? Right? Yeah, how do you stand out when there's a million other kids playing the same game, right?
Right. Yeah. Personality has a big part of it, I think.
Yep.
And if you're adding value. But yeah, so thanks for that. Yeah, it's crazy to think about. We talked a little bit before, but a year ago I had like 1,500. So hitting 10K is a big
I remember those conversations that we had.
Oh yes,
we talked about it, and I know you were demoralized a lot of the time. And
Andy, how do you do it? Why are you so successful?
Man, I've been there. I've learned a thing or two, but I don't have it all figured out. So
yeah.
But yeah, I remember having those conversations with you. Like, it takes more. It's going to take a lot, but it takes more. It's one of those things where, I guess, to be good at anything, it takes more effort and longer than you think it's going to. Mm-hmm. It is harder than growing a YouTube channel is harder than most people think it is.
It's like most projects that I've ever done. You quote for 20 hours and then ends up being 40 hours, and you're like, well, now my pay is just cut in half.
100%.
That's exactly what it's like. You do a deal with somebody. You're like, yeah, I'll take that laser and do a video on it. Sure, that'll what am I looking at? Probably about 30 hours, maybe 20 hours of testing and then editing and all that kind of stuff. And then you're like, that was more like 40 to 60.
Yeah. And you're like, I could have just bought the laser.
Right.
For cheaper.
Exactly. Word.
Or gotten all the other projects done.
Yeah.
Right.
For real.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have any time for the commission stuff anymore. I'm doing laser reviews.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to talk about pricing your projects. Something I think all of us have some experience with. Real quick, just what year did you start your business?
Formally, I formed the business in 2017.
I think technically it was probably like 16 or 17.
Andy?
Yeah.
This business, 2018.
Okay. Over 30 years of collective experience. Don't you love how people do that? It's like, you're not really collecting your experience. It's just, I was just throwing that out there just to make us sound better,
We have a lifetime worth of
years.
We have so much experience.
Yeah.
But honestly, like probably most of everything that we each learned was after the first year, I would say. I think that first year is so rough, so critical. Like you probably lost so much money in that first year doing your jobs.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Sound about right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're still losing money.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, when's that changed?
Yeah, Steve's over there going like, come on, guys.
That's great.
Yeah, we're gonna play a game. We'll kind of see. We'll gauge how well your pricing has improved. We're gonna play that game. Price is Wrong. Hopefully, I don't get hit for a trademark or something.
Yeah.
Certainly not.
We had some questions in the pre-show. If you're listening to this and you're like, what are they talking about this pre-show? Well, we've started a new thing. We're doing a pre-show over on YouTube, so you can join us before the episode and put your comments and questions in there. We had a good time over there. Got a number of good questions that we're going to be talking about. One comes from Sleeper Hound Design. I need help quoting my work. Started taking on some small trim carpentry jobs. So Nick, why don't you kind of start because you're more in the carpentry space.
Yeah.
I used to do that, but I'm the host, so I get to call somebody out.
Yeah. Well, actually, I just quoted a crown job yesterday, and pretty much all of my jobs now, I have a good handle on how long it's going to take me, and I think that's the hardest thing. We talked about I think this might take me 20 or 30 hours, ends up taking me 40 to 60 hours, and that's been the biggest learn is how much time am I actually going to spend on some jobs? So that just takes time and figuring that out. But I'm trimming this guy's office out, putting some crown in. First thing I do with a customer is I meet with them. And especially on something like that, I go to where we're putting whatever in. It allows me to take measurements, allows me to discuss with them in person what exactly they want. What style they want, and in cases where they don't really know, we can talk through it. And I ask for pictures, if they've seen something on Pinterest or online somewhere that
They always crop out the price.
Yeah.
They always crop out the price.
So I had somebody ask me for a baby bed one time, and they cropped out the price, and I went and found it.
Yeah.
And I was
this?
okay. Yeah. That was amazing.
If I'm busy, I usually just say, I can't beat this price, and I'll send them the link.
Yeah. Oh, well, and those are going to be the customers you don't want, so you triple the price anyway, just to make sure they say no.
Right.
And then
Triple,
they say
wow.
yes.
You're a shark.
Yeah, and then they say yes, and you're like,
Oh, son of a gun.
I should have gone
well, at least
quadruple.
I'm making good. Should make good money on this though. Nah.
Or break even.
Well, it's funny because people are like, "Oh, I bet you hate when people send you Pinterest pictures." I'm like, actually, it gives me a good idea what you want. So if I have an idea what you want, then I can accurately price it and accurately give you what you want. So I don't mind Pinterest.
Yeah. Do you ask if somebody doesn't ask you if they don't give you pictures or an idea? Do you ask them to go out and find pictures so that way it'll give you an idea?
Yeah, I've got and if not, if they're like, I've had a couple that are just like, oh, just whatever you think. And I'm like, it's not my thing. I'm not.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What's your budget? That's my next question in that case.
Yeah. And so then, there have been cases where I've sent them stuff, but I hate that because then I'm having to remember, oh crap, now I got to go back home or back to the office and find some pictures for them. So that's a rare occurrence. But I do, if they don't send me pictures, I do ask for pictures of something. So this guy I quoted yesterday, went over, I had a chat with him, took some measurements. There was a crown already on something there on a lower cabinet. And I asked him if that's what he wants to match or if you want to do an accent, talk through that. And so from there, I've got a good idea what they want. And then I start pricing out my materials, and I have a program and I enter everything in. I enter in, all the crown I need, whatever else, so for that job, I'm going to need, obviously nails, some caulk, wood filler, glue, and some of those things that are the glue, I'm not going to use much of, so I don't necessarily throw that on there. But I put out all my cost in. I tack on 35% up on that, and then I charge $50 an hour on my labor. And I think that job I estimated, I think it was 4 hours. So I think that job came out to roughly $500 for a small 12 by 12 office. And I sent it to him, and the program that I use, it shows everything itemized to them, and they're able to look at it, and then they can click accept or deny. And so he actually accepted it this afternoon. I got an email on my phone. It showed, hey, he accepted this job. So now I can go back and schedule the install.
Does that mean you were charging not enough?
I don't know. I feel like that was well, and so that's kind of the funny thing, right? Because there are definitely jobs where I'm like, I look at the price and I'm like, that seems low, but it fits my model. And then, if I feel like I meet those time requirements and I don't overspend on my budget for what I budgeted, then, I'm making what I should there.
Yeah.
There's definitely been jobs that I've done the exact same way, and it's been, $3,000 or $4,000, and I'm like, yikes.
Right.
And then like instant snap accept on the quote, and I'm like, okay.
Did it again, dang it.
Yeah, should have charged more.
Have you ever had to go back and revise a quote?
I've had a few projects where they didn't move forward with them, and I was thankful they didn't. But because they were a lot of the stuff I work on is very maybe one of a kind, or just something you can't find plans for, or something, and there's kind of a, I don't know, an unknown factor in there that I'm just not sure how certain parts of the process, how long they'll take. And a couple, I was like, oh boy, if they accept this, I may have to go back to them and talk to them about it. But I never had to because they didn't accept it. So
right,
worked out. But
yeah,
Trey asked when you do your pricing and stuff. Trey had a number of questions, but we'll talk about. So do you ever feel like guilty? Like, have you ever charged too much? Have you ever feel guilty for what you've charged somebody, thinking that you haven't, like, you wouldn't pay for that yourself?
There have definitely been some times where I've done some bigger projects, and I follow a strict model of I basically build it virtually and find out all the materials that I'm going to use. I punch that into my program, and I charge my upcharge and my labor that I'm expecting to do, and then it is what it is. And so I don't have that I guess kind of like ambiguity in there of like, maybe it should be this or maybe it should be that. But when the price comes out, I'm like, golly, that really seems high. But I just kind of stick, we talked about this before, but I stick to my guns on that.
Yeah.
And I really do get surprised sometimes what people are willing to pay for stuff. So,
right. Andy, you do a lot of CNC stuff. So you do a lot of like batch work and stuff like that in your processes, I think, right?
I've kind of, over the last 6 years, I've kind of done a little bit of everything. Like, I've done custom builds, I've done custom one-off projects, I've done wholesale batching stuff. So, and every one I've priced differently.
That's nice.
Do you benchmark your prices? Like, how do you benchmark your prices? Do you look at different websites, Etsy, marketplace? Like, what's your go-to model?
So what I do and what I teach on my YouTube channel is a pretty basic formula, and I take materials, your material costs. You take your time, right? And that's, I think Nick hit on it, like that. Like, you get better over time. Figuring out how long someone's going to take. But I think something Nick said also is building it virtually really helps wrap your mind around what exactly you're going to have to do. Make those mistakes virtually before you make them physically, right? So materials, labor, and then a profit margin. So I always, like, I talk to a lot of beginners, right? And so no matter how you get there, no matter what formula you're using, at the end of the day, your materials have to be paid for, your time needs to be paid for, and your business needs to be making money beyond that.
Yeah, that's good.
And so those are the three ingredients. And so, like, I'll do something like basic, like, for example, do materials plus time times 1.5. And so that 1.5, it gets you basically a 50%, right, above your similar. Nick is doing a 35 on his just on materials though, right, Nick?
Yeah, I charge an upcharge of 35% on materials. So at any day, even if materials change, like when COVID hit and it was so crazy, there were maybe 1 or 2 jobs where I ate it on some materials. But by and large, now it's so stable. It's not like that anymore. But the 35% is where I get my profit above labor and material cost.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget. They think, oh, my time is X, you're worth X, per hour or whatever, or just to do a particular job, and my materials are X or Y, I guess, if you're a math nerd. And then, because people are like, 2X's? Well, it's just 2X. No. So you have your 2 different equations there, but then they forget that third variable that you mentioned, Andy, which is, hey, your business should be making money that you can then reinvest into the business to get better equipment and things like that.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Like, if your business isn't making money beyond materials and labor, you're really just running a charity.
This is.
And what I always tell everybody, my dad taught me this. So my dad owns a large snow removal company in Michigan, and he started it as a side hustle 25 years ago, and it's grown into a big business. And I remember specifically, I grew up in a small town of 3,000 people, and there was this local landscaper who did landscape and snow removal. And I remember my dad telling me a story about, why would you take on, I guess this was true with the owner of this other company. Why would you take on all that liability, all that overhead, and only supply yourself with a job? Because if you're only charging materials and labor, you basically are just giving yourself a job, which would be much easier to go work for someone else, and
True.
much more profitable for yourself, and a whole lot less work and a headache, less
Right.
headache.
Yeah. Instead of having 1 or 2 bosses, now you have all your customers are your bosses.
Yes.
You're taking on way more headache.
Yeah, so it's got to be more than that. And every profitable company in the world is making more money. That's business in an essence, right? Like if you boil it down, you need to be your business needs to be making more money than it costs you to supply that product. Otherwise, the business doesn't work. So, it's really important to have that third component in there.
Absolutely.
Do you guys offer discounts on any of your stuff? I know we talked a little bit about this, and I think that's actually what maybe started this conversation from the last episode. We were talking about discounts, I think. Do you do family and friends discounts, or do you ever offer a seasonal discount? Hey, it's my Christmas special.
I'll do custom tumblers like Nick and some other people, and depending on the number of tumblers, I'll give a volume discount because you're getting more material, and you can get the material cheaper as well a lot of times, and sometimes if you can get a few more items in that order, the price per unit is cheaper as well. And so sometimes that makes sense, and other things, if I'm making something, say on a CNC, sometimes I'll do a discount with volume because a lot of the setup is already done, and cranking out a few more is hardly any additional time sometimes.
The setup is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yep.
But very, very rarely do I give a discount. Or if I give a discount to somebody who they're like, wow, that's really expensive, I'll walk through everything that goes into what they want, and most of the time they're a little surprised how much materials are, just my cost. And then I'll say, well, I can give you this much of a discount if I don't do this part of it, or I don't. I only do 2 coats of finish instead of 3, or
I can just buy the materials and deliver them to you.
You can do it yourself.
You're right. I'll give you some directions.
Run.
But I never
my
really give a
YouTube
discount. I never give a discount unless I take something out of the scope, I guess.
Yeah. What about your Aunt Myrtle or whatever? You know, do you give her a discount?
No.
Steve driving a hard bargain over here.
Yeah, especially for Myrtle. Do you have an Aunt
Yeah,
Myrtle?
you haven't met her. You haven't met her. She doesn't get a discount.
Super ironic if you did have an Aunt Myrtle.
I don't.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He's like, how did you know that my aunt's name is Myrtle?
Certain family members, I'll help out a little bit here
Yeah.
and there, depending on what it is, of course.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but I won't build it at a loss either.
Yeah. I mean, you're running a business, right? Like if you're doing a project for a family member, unless you have extra time, which I think probably none of us have extra time, you know, to spare. You know, Andy's got 4 live streams in a row, you know, so he doesn't have any spare time. It's 3. He's looking for tomorrow night's date.
Yeah, someone hook me up for tomorrow night.
This is coming out Friday, so we'll find out if that happened. But yeah, I mean, if you're doing something for a family member, that's time that you're putting off another project, right? So if you offer a discount, that's just kind of my take. Now, if I'm doing something for my brother or my dad or something like that, like that's to me a little bit different. But if I'm doing something for like extended family, then that's, you know, I'm going to be charging for it.
Yeah. So there's a few people that I have that I do stuff for free, essentially. There's been a good
Thank you
buddy
for
of
that,
mine
by the way.
Yeah, you're welcome. There's a good buddy of mine who's a pastor in Atlanta, and he needed a fence built, a pretty big one, and I actually built it right after Workbench last year. And he paid for materials, and he helped out some, but I didn't charge him any labor on that. And there's no rhyme or reason, I guess, but behind like who it is. But there are certain people that I'll do things for technically at a loss, just because they're somebody I really care about or somebody that, you know, I have a good connection with that I want to. That to me is not a business thing. That's a personal thing. Like I want to do this for you.
Right.
And so that's not a good business practice. Like, because, you know, Matt, what you're saying, that's absolutely right. Like you're running a business, and like your biggest supporters should be your family. So if you got family members that are constantly looking for discounts, that's kind of crappy. But for my side of things, like I just love helping people, and if it's somebody I feel like I really want to help out, then I will do it for free. And you know, a lot of times those aren't even people that are asking for it. You know, they're just, you know, hey, I thought about doing this, and I was like, well, let me do. It's like me offering to do that for them.
Right.
But as far as like straight up discounts on work, there's really only been one customer that I've ever given a discount to on anything other than like volume discounts for tumblers. And it's because this customer, it gives me so much work. It's like we're done with one job and she's given me another. And when she's not giving me work directly from her, she's referring me to somebody else. And so she was a huge asset for a long time. And so I think after like 3 or 4 years of constant business from her, I started giving her like a 5% discount, which wasn't much, but it was something to say to her, I really do appreciate your business.
Right.
I quote it the same. I don't cut my labor cost or anything like that, but at the end of the deal, like I give her like 5% or something, which doesn't even cover tax. But
so I think there's an important point here is that it's in. I think probably all of us do the same kind of thing. There's certain jobs that you want to be generous. You want to do something for somebody, right? Like a widow or an elderly person, maybe that you know, or whatever. So, like, there's a difference between doing that work and advertising a discount, right?
Yeah.
So I think when you advertise a discount, and I've done it, right? Like I've done it. You know, you can get a discount for if you pre-order something, and it probably still is on the website. But when somebody orders something, they get an email and they get a code that they can use on their next order for a discount on a product, right? And so I do it. I'm starting to realize, like, if I discount that, that's coming out of my time. and I'm offering a discount to somebody who's never been a customer before, hasn't shown, that loyalty. And so, I'm switching away from that.
Yeah.
I've got a question on that. And I'd throw this out for everybody. If you have offered and publicized discounts or something of that nature, what return have you seen? Like, has it brought a wave of orders? Or in my experience, I've gotten very little out of that. And then one person gets $100 off or something like that. I'm like, wow, I just lost $100.
Yeah, my wife does direct, sales type thing. She doesn't like push it or anything. There's a makeup that she really likes, and so she gets a discount on the makeup. And sometimes people ask her like, "Hey, who does your makeup? Where do you get your makeup from?" And so she'll tell them. So she does this. What is it? Direct marketing or whatever.
See.
They're always doing discounts on all that kind of stuff or whatever, right? And then part of that model is the girls will have a makeup party or something like that and offer discounts and stuff like that for them. She'll even put it out there like, hey, there's a discount on this thing. And like people just don't, they either want it or they don't want it, it feels like.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Trey was saying. Like, this is what the price is. If you want it, they're going to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't I personally haven't seen a whole lot of good outcome for publicizing discounts like that.
Yeah.
Not
Andy,
that
what
I've tried it a
about
ton.
you? You do?
Yeah, so I generally agree. I think in the scenario that you're talking about, Matt, where you're soliciting a discount to gain business, it's a losing battle. I think there's a waste of time, and I think in some industries, like you're talking about, maybe makeup or maybe other things like discounts or like retail. Kohl's does it all the time. Like Kohl's has this pricing
Oh,
model.
the Kohl's cash kills me.
Right?
Yeah.
But Kohl's is known for, you don't ever really buy anything that's not on sale at Kohl's. Like everything is on sale, right? And so, but you're still buying at their retail prices. They're just
they're marked up. Yeah.
Price positioning. And
Yeah.
but in our custom nature, custom woodwork, custom CNC woodwork, custom commission work, there is no room for a discount. Like it's just, there's no positive to it. Now, again, that's strictly on the business side. Now, when you're looking at helping someone out or family member or something like that, it's completely I think it's a different conversation. But when you're just trying to grow your business, there's no benefit to it.
There really isn't.
So Nick, I know you mentioned like you were kind of itemizing things, and I think like in the construction business, that's typical to itemize things.
Yeah, it depends.
So Steve, like when you did the whiskey for that bar, you were doing some projects for them.
Yeah.
Do you itemize your stuff for them and say, material's going to be X, and kind of go down the list?
Yeah, and that was a tricky one because that involved disassembling a whiskey barrel and cutting it up and a lot of process time to get at least one flat edge on it, and it's the first time I attempted something like that, and I underestimated how much time it would take, but they had me come back and do things for them over and over. And whenever something new comes up, they give me a call, give me a first shot at it. And there's been times where I'm like, I can't do it for the price you want because materials are more than that or whatever. And I think it comes down to really educating them on what things cost and how much time it takes and like walking through the process, all the different steps you have to take. And usually the people that are shocked by a price just don't understand what goes into it.
Do you find that when you itemize things, or if you do itemize things, it helps with that customer understanding a little bit?
Oh, yeah. Almost every customer I have, if I itemize and list out everything that has to happen and the pricing of the materials and picking things up, and then I think we're bad at valuing our design time and the time we put into the estimate. I mean, that's part of the project too, and a lot of times that never gets accounted for. I know I'm guilty,
Right.
just like a lot of people.
I think there's some, like with any like quoting jobs, there's some opportunity cost, right? Like, you see all the vehicles around town that says, free quotes or free estimates. Mm-hmm. They're probably not actually free. You should build that into your price. But,
Right.
But you do have to, like, if you just look at the process, like, you do have to do some work that you may never get that money back, because let's say you put 2 hours into quoting and designing, and I'm curious to what you guys do for deposits or things like that.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So if you put 2 hours into something and then someone says, no, I changed my mind, really you're eating those 2 hours on that project. Now, zooming out, you probably make it up on another project, if you have your markup in there. But there is some costs that aren't recoupable directly, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't charge for quotes at all. That, to me, my philosophy there is that I'm earning the business on that. And so I try not to spend an outrageous amount of time before getting a price to them, at least something initial. And so I do. And as far as like itemizing, it's interesting you mentioned about construction work, because I had a buddy, he and I partnered up to start like an outdoor exclusive construction deal. We're doing like decks, fences, and pergolas. And he really did not want to itemize it. He wanted to be just like, hey, this is the price to do it. And it is what it is, because he comes from the home builder standpoint. He's a salesman for a custom home builder in town. And he's like, all the time we have people like, oh, well, what's this? And what's this thing?
Right.
And what's this? And it's like, people start picking apart your quote. But personally, on my side, like, I put everything in there. For the most part, I put everything on the quote that they can see and how much I'm charging for that item. And to me, my philosophy on that is I'm being open and honest and vulnerable in that. I'm not trying to hide anything from you. Here is why your quote is what it is.
Right.
And so I put that out there to try to gain that sense of trust. And then people depend on I guess, have a sense of trust and dependency in that. But in terms of, Andy, you mentioned deposits.
Deposits, yeah.
I do require a deposit of 50% if the total quote is over $1,500. And so that to me is just something I came up with a while ago. That is a value that is well above what I want to cover myself. And so I want to have that $1,500. If it starts at $1,500, I want to have the $750 in pocket before I buy anything. And that's going to cover my material cost or whatever it may be. And to me too, this comes from, various different experience points of not just business, but also ministry and some other stuff. Is like when people have money in something, they're invested, and their tendency to back out on it is going to cut by like 90%. So
I also find it helps motivate me to not put them off. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that deposit, it's like I'm holding somebody's money. So for me, I'm like, I need to get out there and do this project instead of taking a nap or, or spending time with my kids. But, you know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
I had Keith Johnson on the podcast, and he talked about, it was right after he did a job, or was supposed to do a job that he quoted out or whatever, or somebody said, hey, I want you to do this. And I think he had done work for this person before. And so he went out and bought all the material for it. And then when the guy had time to kind of review the price, he was like, oh, yeah, that's out of my price. Well, now Keith had all of this material that he was out. And so then he had to kind of repurpose it. And he had a video lined out for it and everything. So then that actually became the purpose of the video was, hey, make sure you're collecting up front for stuff.
Yes,
That's another thing. When somebody, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
Nick, somebody's not invested, they can always back out, and you're out the material or time or whatever, or planning.
Yep.
Total boat, baby.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Hey, how do I get one of those bits?
Yeah.
I need to get on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
The bits and bits?
No. Not bits and bits. Although I have partners. I've worked.
Good segue, because he is with Bits and Bits.
Oh, jeez, man, that's great.
That was a good segue.
That is
Speaking of segues, I've got a game that I want to play. What say you? The Price is Wrong.
Oh boy, here we go.
Do I need to write on something?
I won't be playing. It just you'll write on something, and then you're gonna
your
hold
arm.
up. You're gonna hold it up. Okay. So this is primarily for the YouTube audience, and sorry if you're listening on one of the podcast streaming apps. You can head over to YouTube and look up Maker Lounge Podcast. We're gonna play a game that is
I'm
Price
going to
is
be
Wrong.
terrible at this. I will say this is why I'm going to be terrible at this, and this is also why I quote the way that I do. I am terrible at guessing stuff, so I need something that is very concrete.
I'm going to show you a project, right? Some of these were found. So here's how it's going to go. Nobody talk poorly about the project that you see shown up on the screen,
Beautiful.
because maybe me or somebody else, one of the guests here, have built something. Okay, so it may be one of their projects or my projects or whatever, right? So just sharing some stuff. So
I see a location.
Steve, describe what you are seeing on the screen for the listening audience. Those of the people who aren't going over to YouTube. What do you see on the screen?
I'm seeing a kitchen table with it's white painted legs, 4 legs, and stained wood top, and then matching benches on each side.
What I want everybody to do is write down what price would you charge for what you see on the screen.
Ooh.
10, 9.
Oh,
This is a quick.
boy.
We're gonna make it a quick game. 6,
Okay.
4. Don't show it yet. 3, 2, 1. Everybody show.
I don't know if I can get that
Okay.
close
Backwards.
Nick 780, Steve 1500, Andy 1200. Nick, what are you
Wah,
doing
wah.
here? What are you doing here? What are you doing? You're killing us, bro.
Hey, I'm trying to be closest without going over.
That's right.
Good strategy. Good strategy.
Do we get to know what they have us listed for?
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay. Good.
So it's not necessarily closest without going over, but closest. Let's go with closest. All right.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
649 is what they've listed this table for.
Yeah.
Crazy talk.
I would say I'm with you guys, Steve and Andy. I mean, it's basically 2x6s. Looks like for the top.
Yeah.
It's definitely a rustic look.
So
Yeah, it's a farmhouse table.
Yeah.
could you
I would
charge
honestly-
$649? I think that's too low, Nick. I honestly, I'm not here to beat you up or anything like that.
No, what I would charge for that is probably closer to $2,000.
See, and you put you okay. So
I
now
was
you
guessing what they were guessing. What they were
oh
going to price it
yeah,
at.
yeah.
You just wanted to get the job.
Okay, so that one's free. That one's free. Okay, so now they're gonna start counting, and we'll
Okay, so
start keeping
Matt-
score. Okay.
I just wanted to say, once I talked to the client, I was going to give them a $325 discount, so I could just beat Andy.
Yeah. All right. So I hired Nick for that job, but that was just a practice round. Okay. All right. Here's the next one. Nick, what do you see in this one?
So this is an outdoor. It's kind of fancy looking picnic table. Looks like maybe cedar, solid 4x4s on the outside, and a nice little white double pedestal bottom. I'm guessing those chairs that are with it were bought to go with the table.
So let's
So
just price the
Let's
table.
say just the table. Yeah.
when I show the price, this is going to be what they're saying they do custom built woodworkings for. Okay, so I'm just using this as a base case from talk about marketing. Okay,
So the price is 1, 2, 3, 4.
maybe.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, but for the purpose of this game, what would you charge for it? Okay, and that's what you're going to write down on the paper
For this table.
for the table. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when I show the price, we're not going to benchmark against this price that's shown. Okay.
Okay.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show your price. Nick's got 2,500. He's upped he's trying to make up for the last job. Steve's got 1,150. Andy's got 1,250. Steve and Andy, I think your prices are pretty in line with each other.
We're on the same page.
Yep.
We're
So
texting
Nick,
each other.
2,500.
Well, those legs look time consuming to make, and that's
Yeah.
a pretty thick top too. And the other thing too to note on this is it's outdoor,
Right.
and so I'm spending a lot more time to make sure that outdoor finish is top notch, so that it doesn't fade in 6 months.
Right.
And you're going to be paying more for that finish as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm paying probably $200 for that finish.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
Okay,
good point.
so from a pricing perspective, I think all those prices are pretty good. I think I'm gonna hire Steve on that job, and I'm thinking he's probably gonna lose a little bit of money on it.
Mine did not include finish. You have to do that yourself.
I've retracted.
Got to read the
my
fine
bid.
print.
I've retracted. Andy, would you like this job?
Ooh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, Andy's hired for one job.
But cedar is naturally rot resistant, so there's no finish on the table.
Wow,
Oh wow.
Nick, would you like this job?
I'll take it.
Okay, sorry, Andy.
That comes
You
with
lost
the
out.
umbrella too, right?
That's why you got to collect a deposit first.
Yeah.
All right, Nick's got 1 point. Okay, let's talk about the marketing of this. It says custom built woodworkings, right? This is a Facebook Marketplace ad. It says from picnic tables and benches to flower boxes, floating shelves, stovetop covers. So basically everything. All orders custom, and whenever you use the word custom, you know that they're going to charge a little bit more. Built to order, inquire within. So if we were to inquire on it, Nick, you're pretty much on target. You were just off
Oh my
by
God.
one entire. So the
yeah.
price is $123,456. So this is a
Wow.
Facebook. This is a well-known strategy that people do, which I would love to see us get away from, and that's
Yeah, I
put
hate this stuff.
$1 for custom woodworking. Right? People do search by price, right? And they'll scroll right past this $123,000. They're gonna think, oh, well, this person. I just saw another advertisement that's only charging me $1,234, and so
And
this is
in my mind, this is just it's lazy.
yeah, exactly.
No offense if I can't talk bad about the listings. Sorry.
No, now you can, because this is not one of us.
Okay, good.
And I blocked out the names just so people know. But this is New York. Is where the geography is. This is somebody in New York. So probably charging a little bit more of a premium than somebody over in Texas or something like that. But still,
The sun's gonna bake that finish.
I would love to see this person list the price of this table and then say, I do all this. I do other things. If you're interested in some of my other work, check out my website at whatever.
That's a great point.
So I think if you were to list, if you have a picture of a table now, what you don't see, kind of down in the small section, there are other pictures of other projects that they do. But this
Then
gives me
click through.
no idea what they charge for each individual thing. And so I'm going to waste your time as a seller going, how much for this? How much for this? How much for this? Right? As opposed to just listing these things separately.
Quick question: have you guys marketed on Facebook like this a lot? Like,
Never.
has it been part of your strategy? Do you do it? Just curious.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
No. I
Never
will
have.
say though, a caveat to that is no, I've never marketed on Facebook like this. However, My original intent in starting Instagram was to push local sales, and I've gotten quite a bit of work off of my Instagram just from people searching, because I'll tag, Bryan College Station, whatever, and I've gotten local business from that. And so that's primarily my goal, which is, I guess, probably the minority in our community.
Yeah.
But that's really what I use Instagram for.
All right, next one is not from Facebook. So Andy, this is from a website. I actually found this person because I did a marketplace search, and then it listed their website, and I was like, let me check out their website. They had beautiful photos. So Andy, describe what this photo is showing us.
All right, it is a circle table. Looks like. Can I just read?
Yeah.
What the drop down menus are saying? So it's a 36-inch round. Looks like knotty pine top. That doesn't look like knotty pine though. Maybe it's the base.
So the picture, it does not reflect what I selected for the drop down.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, I'm starting over. Delete all that. Backspace. So it okay. I see it now. It says shown in 48-inch knotty alder special walnut matte poly black stain base. Did you see that in the bottom of the picture?
I saw that after.
Okay, so that's a wood base.
Yeah, it's a wood base, black stain base.
Okay. That's what I was trying to pick out.
So it's an X base.
Yep.
X base.
X base round. It looks like a 48-inch round.
Yep. Okay, so now go off of what I picked. So if you were to do a 36-inch round knotty pine with a dark walnut stain on top with a whitewash base with a matte poly, and I don't want them to add rustic saw marks for an extra charge probably. All right, so you got 5 seconds. Write something down. 5, 4, 3, 2. Show what you got. Steve coming in at 1750, Nick with an comparable 1800, and Andy with 2000. Pretty close. Who am I going to hire for this job? I think based off of your business names, I would probably hire Nick, but since I already gave him a point,
I would agree with that. But...
I'm gonna go with Andy.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with Andy. How much did I pay you, Andy? 2,000.
2,000.
Okay.
That was a mistake, but
any caveats?
I'm going to subcontract it out to Steve.
Nice.
I like that.
Nice.
All right.
Shipping's gonna kill you though.
Oops.
So here's the thing I see about this, and obviously I'm not looking at the knotty pine one, but that looks like an inch to inch and a half thick base, which means that's not construction grade lumber.
Mm-hmm.
And that top already is probably costing them $500 just for the wood on the top.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
I'd agree with that.
Yep.
And then you're not including finish or the rest of the stuff, and you're only charging $1,300.
Right.
You're not making much.
They're not making much.
Right. Yeah, and I think, the thing is beautiful photos. Like if you go through their website, and I think there's actually one more.
That's an excellent design.
And I think when you show, and actually I think one of the earlier pictures was from this same person. And so definitely not picking on this person at all. Their photos, their work looks great. Looks fantastic. I think they're not charging enough.
I agree.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I see honestly, I wouldn't have a problem with that being $2,500.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree with that.
You're not going to buy a table like that.
No.
Custom.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to the next one. Coasters. The old coasters. Slate coasters. This one should be an easy one for pretty much all of us. I think we've all done a set of slate coasters in our time. Again, you can tell but based on the website design, the same designer as the last one, because I was lazy and I didn't go to everybody's websites. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What you got? Nick is charging $1,000 each because he doesn't like doing coasters.
Nick doesn't want to do it.
Steve is at 30 for a set of 4. Andy's at 40 for a set of 4. I'm gonna pick Steve's price. I like Steve's price. You got that?
Great.
Obviously. So I'm gonna have you make some Texas slate coasters for $30. Now, one thing to note about this is in their website, they have pickup available at, and I blacked it out. They list their address on their website where you can pick it up, and it says not a retail store, pickup by appointment only.
Porch pickup only.
I would say from an advertising perspective, I probably wouldn't want to list where I'm making these things at, because you might have $100,000 worth of tools based on the other pictures we've seen this person put out. You know, they probably got a garage of $100,000 worth of tools to make the things that they're making.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I would strongly advise not putting your address on there. It was not a
I
P.O.
think
box.
that's just ignorance of just not thinking through some of those things.
Yeah.
Can I add some? So can I say something about this product? I don't know whose product this is. I don't know.
Right.
And this isn't like a super unique product. But what I love about these, just the concept, is that there is a base design, and then there's some customization to it. You can add your own state to it, which is so powerful. Like rather than creating, it's striking that balance, right, between doing like 100% one-off work that is very time consuming, and just creating like batching out a bunch of basic products, right? This kind of hits that middle sweet spot. So,
Right.
I agree with that, Andy.
And I think also to note, and I apologize to the listening audience that you can't see this, so I'll try to describe it. You've got a set of coasters. The pictures are beautiful. There's a little small thumbnails off on the left side that I'm not showing here, but wrapped very nicely. It's like on a nice wood surface, you know, kind of rustic. And then they've put in some accents into the photo. And I think just that right there, you can add $5 to your price. Because
it's staged really well.
It's staged perfectly. Yeah. I think if you just had a stack of coasters on your workbench and you said, hey, I'm charging, you know, Steve, if Steve put it out there and he says, I'm charging $30 and it was just on his workbench, I think he could charge $35 if you put in just a little bit of staging, a little bit of time in his photos. And then that's going to build in perpetuity, you know, kind of going for every order is going to be $5 more just because the one photo that you took just a little bit better than the other guy. So time to show the price. $22.95. Super low, I think, for now. Again, to Andy's point, I mean, it's something that's, you know, easy to batch out, right? You're talking probably 20 minutes worth of labor, probably about $2, maybe $3 worth of material, you know, laser time. You know, I think $30 is even like you're not going to be making much. You know, that's time. You got to go out there. You got to program it. You probably already got it programmed, but you got to set it up. You know, you got to jig or whatever. But beautiful work. $22.95 I think is too low. My personal opinion.
Agreed.
Well, and I think, not to jump into a different question, and we can jump back to this later, but that kind of speaks to one of the questions we talked about on the pre-show of like perceived value. And it's like, you know, stuff like this I don't like doing for a number of reasons, but I find it so difficult to price the small things because if I really look at my time,
$1,000.
I mean, I'm like, if I spend a couple of hours working on this and I charge $50 an hour or whatever it is, like there's no way somebody's paying $150 for a set of coasters. So it's like my pricing model's out the window. So like, how do I price this? And I have a problem pricing this, and I have a problem finding a good way to make money off of it, which is why I don't like doing it.
You should take Andy's course.
I should.
You should.
Yeah. Go to Andy Bird Builds.
And then a project like this also lends itself to losing your profit real quick if you make a mistake.
Right.
Yes.
So I did
real quick.
I did a quick Google search because I had no idea how much slate coasters cost, and it looks like you can get them on Amazon all day long for $48 for $49. So it looks like you pay $1 a coaster for a slate coaster, just to give you an idea.
So that's almost well, I wouldn't say pure profit, but that's almost straight up profit right there.
So they're at $4 in material plus laser time. You know, they may be looking at it like, hey, you know, I'm making $15 off a set of coasters, let's just say.
Yeah.
You know,
and I would guess that because you're not putting a custom name on this, right? This is something that they're doing their other work. They're building their tables and things like that. They've got the laser running over there, so to them it's just it's gravy. It's extra money. So if you're looking at it from that perspective, but you're pricing against somebody who's charging $30 or $40 for the same set of coasters. So yeah, you're going to probably get the business because of that. So you do have to weigh those pros and cons, right? Like, if this is something that you're just doing, you set it and forget it. You've got a good jig, a good system. That's good, but you also could charge a little bit more and be more in par with the majority.
Yep.
Okay, so we're gonna take a swing to the other side here. Hopefully, this game's not going too long for the listening audience. So try to describe what you see. Steve, I'm gonna have you tell us what you see in this next photo.
What am I looking at there? So these are wooden coasters.
We're not picking on anybody.
To me, it looks like these might be like a 4x4 post that have been cut into cookies as coasters.
That's right.
With some kind of finish.
Yeah. So
I'll read
the description. The coasters come in any color, different thicknesses. So not a consistent thickness. And the set comes with 7. They're handmade out of 4x4. Contact with any questions. So
looks like a treated 4x4 at that.
So yeah, essentially what they've done is they've taken some 4x4 and they've sliced it up. And they I mean, it looks like maybe a shoshugibon type of finish that they're doing or something.
Maybe.
And then maybe slicing it up or whatever, and then putting a ribbon around it and selling it. So a contrast to the previous coaster set, right? Staging wise, this is, you know, just on some like packing material from a raid or something. And oh my gosh, I hope they're not listening. So so basically the staging is not great. And I've probably just lost Patreon. Hopefully I'm not a Patreon member. And so it says wood coasters handmade. All right, everybody write your prices down. What would you charge for this set of 7 coasters?
Yeah, 7 is a unique number.
Very unique. Yep, very unique.
So in that small print, does that say exotic hardwood?
No. Oh. Keep in mind, they're unique because they each have different thicknesses. All right,
and 5, this is what we would charge.
4.
What we would charge, or what they charge.
Let's go with what you think Let's go with what they would charge this time. All right. What do you think they're charging? 5.
I already wrote my price.
4, 3, 2, 1. Nick, $22.95, severely discounted from his $1,000 set. Steve, $14.95. I'll give you bonus points for both of you for putting 95. It's just so you don't appear to be extra. And Andy, $10. All right, let's see what they charge for the set of a unique 7 coaster set.
$30.
$30. So they're charging more than the other person is charging. Now, granted, you're getting 3 extra coasters for this.
That's true.
So you're getting a little bit more value, I guess, that way. And again, I don't want it to come off as I'm making fun of this person. They're probably just starting off, right? And so I realize that probably came off the wrong way. But you could take this set and you could make a set of 4. You could stage it, you know, a little bit better, right? And I think that would be kind of cool, right? Like if you the colors are cool, I think.
Yeah.
If you had maybe a same consistency, the same thickness, and now I probably still wouldn't charge $30 because you're not doing any like customization to it per se.
Well, I think, so I think what they're doing is they're treating the outside of the 4x4 and then they're cutting it somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But if they could do that treatment, that stain and that burn on the top of the coaster, because it looks like that's just raw wood.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that would add something as well,
I think,
Yeah.
if you go with that route, I think they are in the $30 range, right? For a set of 4, stained on, 5 of the
whole
6
thing.
sides.
The face and
Right. And
I mean, at that point, you
these-
should go all the way around.
right.
And if these are treated, you can put these on your patio for any weather.
True.
Yeah.
If these are treated.
True.
Well, I mean, it looks like a treated 4x4, which means they have to hold on to that 4x4 for a minute before they can do anything to it.
Right. So
Right.
what were your prices again? I didn't ever give somebody the job. Let's see who was closest.
Mine was $22.95.
$14.95.
Okay. And Andy, yours was what? You're muted.
$10.
What it was? Oh, it's $10. Oh yeah. So Nick, you get the point.
Sorry. Yeah, I was muted. $10. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Next one. This
Oh,
is
this
a it's a TARDIS bookshelf.
Golly,
What
that's
it's listed as.
crazy.
Wow.
It's got a light on top. So anybody that's not familiar with TARDIS, it's from the show Doctor Who. It closes up and then opens up, and there's deep bookcases on the inside, so you could basically open up the front and you'd have books on both sides. Looks like 3/4 inch material, and probably 5-6 feet tall, based on the smaller picture.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail work there.
Yeah.
It's
You got the words up here up
Hinges.
top, the police public call box. If you've watched Doctor Who, this looks exactly like the phone booth. It's a phone booth. This looks exactly like the phone booth from Doctor Who.
back in Texas.
What would you charge for this? Yeah, in Texas. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nick's got 3,000, Steve's at 1,200, and Andy's at 3,000. You guys are tied. Okay, it's time for a pitch off. All right,
I'm losing money then.
Andy, why do you want this job?
Why do I want this job?
Yeah.
Because I got to eat.
Okay, Nick, why do you want this job? Andy, you're fired.
I really like the idea of doing something different with the mobile moving bookshelves there. That's a pretty cool design. That would be fun to build, honestly.
Yeah, it was very fun to build. This is one of my first projects. $730 is what I charged for it. Now this is back in 2016.
Okay.
So this is one of my projects. $730 is what I charged, and I'm going to show you a snapshot here in a second. This is my itemized invoice back in, you see, January 15th, 2016. Delivery date, January 30th, 2016. So this is to tell you how far I've come. Okay. So Doctor Who bookshelf
8 years.
with hinged doors, approximately 6 feet tall. Materials, I list the materials. I list the paint. I list the hinges.
$400 in labor.
I list the labor. And then I discount everything because they were a friend. And so, well, they were actually a brother of a friend. And so, I gave a $225 discount, most of that coming from the labor portion of it. And this is a huge mistake for me, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't know what my time was worth. When I spent probably close to 60 hours on this thing. And just in spring, I was new to finishing. Then you had the decals, then you had the light on top, and then you had to make sure that when you hinged the doors open, the thing didn't fall over, right? So I had to have a heavy base. I think probably just in materials alone, I was close to $1,200.
Yeah.
Just in materials, because the amount of plywood that I had to use, the vinyl, all the stuff. So, anyways, not to belabor it too much, but huge learning curve for me. So all of you can write in the comments how stupid I was. That's great. We'll move on.
Hey, Matt, it's a great point though, because I think we've all been here, right? When we first got started, and one completely agree. You learn from it, and then you grow and you get better. This was almost 8 years ago for you to the date, and I've had projects like this myself, but
it says it was listed 3 days ago.
Yeah, that's because I tricked you guys. Tricked you.
Yeah. But what I want to say is...
So now you'll pay attention to the next one.
Right. Yeah. But what I want to say is I think we often overlook, like, when we start a business, like you start a business with the idea of making money. Completely get that. That's normal. But there's so many, and this isn't justifying pricing wrong. This isn't justifying, like, doing things for free. But you learned a ton on this.
Yeah.
And there is value in taking on projects like this and learning from them. Like, that learning experience probably ended up making you thousands of dollars down the road.
True.
So we can look at it as like, oh, I lost my butt on this. Or we can look at like I just made something really cool for my portfolio to show people what I can do. And I learned a crap ton that is going to make me, thousands of more dollars down the road.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Now, Matt, if you made this mistake today, I wouldn't come
3
on this
days
podcast.
So I'm going to give 1 point to Steve for the price because I would hire him to do it. And then I'm going to give Andy a point because I appreciate his response.
Nice.
So we're all tied up, but we'll have to move the game quickly here in the next few here.
While you're looking, I got a quick question. I noticed your paint. You had $40 on your paint, which I'm guessing that you pulled that from the cost of like $35 for a gallon of paint at Home Depot or whatever.
Right.
What paints did you use like when you were first starting, or even finishes, and why did you choose those versus what you use now? And like, how did cost affect that?
Right. Yeah, I didn't have a finisher at the time, so yeah, I used whatever I could find at Home Depot. And so I wasn't familiar what was going to lay down smoothly, and all that kind of stuff. And now I have a huge appreciation for, number one, the prep time and getting things done right first. But also the finish that you use makes a huge difference in the quality of the output, because you're not going to spend time trying to smooth things over. If you can find a self-leveling finish, that's going to save you a ton of time. So your labor is going to be, so you're spending a little bit more on the finish, but you're saving probably 3, 4, 5 times that amount in the labor costs, if that makes sense.
And the final product too.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of where I came from. When I first started, I was using crappy latex paints, and that would not seal forever. And I was doing it because I was like, oh, well, I've used this before in this project or whatever, and it's cheap. And,
right.
If somebody's paying $1,000 for something, an extra $50, $80 for a good quality paint they're not going to knock off on that,
Right.
And so you got to remind yourself like the overall project, and not trying to cheap out on like certain things for the goal of having a good solid finish.
Right. Yeah. All right, let's move kind of quickly through these next few if we can. Okay.
Rapid fire.
Custom built woodworkings. What we see here looks like a planter box. It's probably about what would you say, Nick? What does that look like in the height?
It's about, I don't know, looks like maybe 3 feet tall.
3 feet tall. Planter box, maybe about 5,
maybe 4 foot.
4 foot wide. All right.
Yeah.
Rapid fire. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Andy's at 250. Nick is at 1,200, and Steve is at 700. 700? Is that our 7 or a 2?
700.
All right.
Jeez,
So
I'm
we
really
we
low.
got quite a mix here. I also noticed a little bit of Surf Prep sandpaper down there. Is all I'm just saying. So that looks like a Surf Prep 3x4 sandpaper down on the floor. Nick, why don't you tell us about this project?
So this is one I built for one of my most loyal customers, and they love mahogany. And he spends stupid money on stuff that doesn't make sense. So instead of going with cedar on this planter, like I thought we were going to do, he wanted to do mahogany. So that upped our cost quite a bit. And then we had to fit in some pretty specific dimensions. And then this is going to be sitting outside on an uncovered porch. So we spent some money on finish as well. So I can't remember what I priced this at, but I think it was pretty close to 1,200.
Well, I'd hire you for it.
I appreciate it.
Steve and Andy, if you couldn't figure it out, Nick built it.
Oh yeah, I got
that
it
part,
just a second ago. But
All right, let's see what else we got. All right, we have a bath caddy. These bath caddies can be made with a variety of materials. The caddy shown in the photo is made from walnut. Message for customization. So this is from Hogansville, Georgia, and it looks like it's got a place for like your phone, a tablet, a drink. All right, rapid fire. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nick's at 400. Steve's at 250. Andy's at 120.
I'm losing my sight.
Since Nick was the only one that sent me photos pre-show, Nick, why don't you tell us about this project?
This is actually the same customer. And this is an interesting bathroom setup, but he wanted something that he could set his iPad in, a drink, and his phone, and just be movable. The tricky part about this, I don't know if you could tell on this clawfoot tub, it slopes quite a bit. So I had to build something on the bottom with some rubber feet that it would catch on and not move. It was a little tricky to build the bottom, but that was probably one of the cheaper projects I have done for this guy.
Nice.
I feel like maybe Nick has the advantage in this pricing game.
Well, so far you're winning 3, and they each have 2. There's one more. Last one. Custom Build Woodworkings.
Hey Nick, what did you charge for this?
5, 4, 3, 2. And wait, before you post it, so just for the listening audience, basically what we have here, it looks like a bed frame. So just the frame. It's got some tapered legs. And
Maple.
Looks like maple. Yep. All right. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Show your price. 2,000 for Andy, 2,800 for Steve, and 1,500 for Nick. So Nick, you could have definitely charged more for this.
I honestly don't remember what I charged for that. But I can look it up real fast.
All right. So anyway, the game is a 3-way tie. So congratulations, guys. Very good. So, so basically just talking about, I wanted to bring these things up just to talk about pricing, how we different, each one of us would price these different projects totally different ways. So is there a way that, or recommendation that any of you have when you're getting ready to do a project? Steve, what's your go-to strategy if somebody comes to you and they sent you a picture of the bed frame and says, hey, can you build this?
Initially I'd probably try to come up with a rough lumber cut list of material and estimate how much waste I would have, out of the rough stock, and just itemize all the parts, on a bed like that with the different hardware you might need.
Yeah.
Just add that in and some finish. And then I'd probably go out and I'd look at some websites looking for something similar. Same size bed frame, queen or king or something like that. And just more of a check on my pricing.
Right. I think that I would do the same thing. I will go through and just scour the internet, but then that also goes into your time, right? Your research time.
Right.
So, I guess, do you charge, if you don't get that job, are you making it up on the next job?
That's a great question. For me, I don't really do any kind of marketing or anything, so I mostly attribute it to just lost marketing time.
Yeah.
If it's somebody I would do work for over and over, it's just, I guess, part of the deal. Nick gets a lot of projects with this one guy, and so it's probably not a big deal to.
Yeah.
So I have run into that where I felt like I underpriced a job before, and I had like a repeat customer that just coming back, and I tried to, not drastically, but may have added a couple of extra hours of labor to try to cover for what I felt like was a loss on the last one.
Did you sell them $1,000 set of coasters?
I did.
To make up for it.
Yeah.
Nice. I have one more question that I want to make sure we get to. Christy with Oak Hill Millworks, she asked in the pre-show, subscription-based pricing. Is this something that you guys offer? I know we talked in the pre-show, and I'm trying to remember. We didn't talk about it in the main episode yet.
Yeah, so I talked a little bit on the pre-show about it, but so it's just a different pricing model, and I'm trying to curate my thoughts towards. I'll curate my thoughts towards Christy.
Okay.
my target audience, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because this is different than obviously pricing a piece of furniture or something like that. But so I mentioned in the pre-show that predictable revenue is desirable, right? Like that's why if you look at any like any software company or anything, like subscription model, right? Because I was actually having a conversation with someone today about there's been millionaires made off dollar products, like a $1 download. They but a million people downloaded it, and you have a subscription model or something like that. So with me, I have a paid community, a paid business community called the CNC Inner Circle, and that is kind of the goal, like in my business, right, to have something that is monthly, sustainable, that I can build a community, but 2, offer value on a consistent basis, but 3, like stabilize income, right? Because I think in any business you have ups and downs and peaks and valleys, whether it's seasonal, whether it's you run in we've all had that where you don't get a job for a while and you're panicking a little bit and you're like, what the heck's going on? And so for my business in general, I have that aspect, so we have about 50 members in the inner circle, and so that's about I think it's about $1,000 a month, $1,200 a month.
Cool.
It's not like I'm not getting rich off of it, but it's just a nice consistent thing that I can. Obviously, it's like anything else. I have to put effort into it. I have to build it. I have to provide value for people to stick around and build a community. But from a business pricing model standpoint, it does provide that consistency. So
yeah, I talked in the pre-show a little bit about doing the Woodwax subscription type thing. It worked. I only had a couple customers, but it's something that's a small product that you're having to make to send out, whereas I think having something like downloadable products or something like that, or videos or a course like Andy, like you've got, that's something that you're making that income in your sleep. And if you're consistently delivering that value, people are going to continue to come back for, and hopefully it will grow. But something like a subscription model for a product offering, that's going to be a harder sell, I think, because there's going to be a point where somebody's going to have too much of the product. There's the things, like the sock club or things like that. Like at some point, somebody's going to get tired of getting those socks. They're going to have too many socks or too many ties or too much, scents, right? Or essential oils or whatever whatever it is. And they're going to put pause on it, right? And then that's going to directly impact your business. But if it's like a value, or if it's a download, something people can use or something like that, offering those, hey, if you subscribed or you are a Patreon member of my channel, whenever I come up with a new product, you get first access to that. You get free access to those products. And I think that's a good model, right? Because people, but then you do still have to continuously deliver, but it's not anything that you're not going to be doing anyway.
And I don't have any kind of subscription. I've got some digital downloads that I sell, and like you said, Matt, getting a notification that you sold something you weren't even working on it at the time is pretty awesome, even if it's only $3 or $5.
Right.
One thing that I would like to do, and this is kind of, I don't know, one of those kind of dream things that I don't know that I'd ever get to, but if I was really good at putting all of my designs into SketchUp, and then there's another program, I'd have to ask my buddy what he uses, but it basically takes the build and totally explodes it out, and anything that he's using sheet goods for, it shows the optimal cut list and everything. It's a really, really cool program. But if I was able to do that at an efficient level for each of my builds, and then put that onto a Patreon forum or something like that, where you could have subscriptions coming in, and it's like, man, I like the work that this guy does, the style of work that he does, then, pay a subscription to get those plans, because building the plans, that alone is a major pain in the rear. And sometimes, maybe you haven't done it before and you're like, how the heck am I going to, put the runners on this bed? Like, I don't know what to do there. And so having somebody who does that on a regular basis, and you're able to pull those plans, that would be a very cool resource to be able to tap into.
Yeah.
But you'd have to be good at putting those plans together, making them easy, user-friendly, and efficient.
Yeah, and I think also just to give a shout out to her and Nick with the Maker Collab. They have the Maker Collab University is another thing that they put together, and so that is also a subscription model type of thing. So another great business model. I think that's kind of the way that the makers, it's kind of the next thing, right? If you have a specific niche, the Maker Collab is more all niches for new makers getting into business aspects and things like that. Andy, you've got your CNC. And if there's a niche that you're in, this to the listening audience, if there's a niche that you're an expert in, or you're just a little bit better than the next person, that you can offer that value, I think that a subscription model is a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely.
With that said, we'll head over to the after show, where we're going to talk. We'll answer the question quickly. We'll do a quick little after show. Victor with Wimm Design asked the question, what do you use for design software? Where do you get the inspiration for your designs? So want to say thank you to Surf Prep for sponsoring this podcast episode and all the podcast episodes. Want to thank you, gentlemen, Andy, Steve, Nick. Thanks for being here and participating in the discussion. Hopefully, if you've made it this far and you're not tired of our voices yet, make sure you leave a comment and let us know that you made it. That's how we know we can separate, the dedicated and the non-dedicated. So thank you to Surf Prep for sponsoring this episode. Thank you to our patrons. We've got a number of top tier patrons we like to announce at the end of the episode. Jimmy McAnally, Wimm Design, Calvary Customs LLC, Cleancut Woodworking, Bailey Thompson, Dave Garcia, Broken Lead Woodworks, Dylan Furniture, Shock the Fox, Don Patterson, Corey Davoll, and also you two other gentlemen that I didn't mention, Andy Bird and Steve Mosley, Making It Home, and Andy Bird Builds. Thank you guys. We'll head over to that after show. Cool. Don't everybody speak at once.
Cool. Woo.